Imagine living in the 1960s. Most cars on the road still looked slow, boxy, and honestly kind of boring. Then almost overnight, car companies started changing everything. Suddenly, bold designs, sweeping body lines, chrome everywhere, and cars that looked like they came straight out of the future started appearing, and people couldn't believe what they were seeing. Detroit was pumping out some of the most beautiful machines the world had ever seen, and many of these cars became legends that people still admire today. So in this video, we're taking a look at some of the best looking cars of the 1960s. Let's get started. Number 15, 1961 Chevrolet Corvair Lakewood. When most people hear the name Corvair, they immediately think of the coupe, but in 1961, Chevrolet did something unexpected. They took this rear engine platform and turned it into a 4-door station wagon, creating one of the strangest and most fascinating compact wagons of its era. The Lakewood's design was surprisingly bold for its time. Instead of following the long, flat wagon shape everyone expected, Chevrolet kept the Corvair's smooth curves and finished the rear with a slightly rising fastback style profile. The result was something that looked stuck between a wagon and a coupe in the best way possible. Under the hood, or technically behind it, sat a 2.3-liter air-cooled flat 6 engine mounted completely over the rear axle. The standard version produced around 80 horsepower. It wasn't built to dominate drag races. This car wasn't about power, it was about personality. Sadly, the Lakewood only survived for 2 model years, from 1961 to 1962, but despite its short life, you can still see pieces of its design influence in later wagon styling. Today, finding a clean Lakewood has become a serious challenge for Corvair collectors. Number 14, 1963 Ford Country Squire. Sometimes a car's name tells you everything about its personality. Country Squire, even the name sounds classy, and Ford knew exactly what image they were selling. The 1963 Country Squire was essentially the luxury version of Ford's full-size wagon lineup. The iconic wood grain style Dynox side panels gave it a premium appearance, and by this point, the wood was mostly decorative rather than structural. The long roofline stretched elegantly toward the rear, giving the wagon a clean and upscale look. Engine options included Ford's 352 cubic inch FE-V8 and the larger 390 cubic inch V8. In stronger configurations, these engines could deliver over 300 horsepower, meaning this family wagon actually had serious muscle under the hood. This was also right in the middle of Ford's redesigned full-size era. Body lines became sharper, styling became cleaner, and chrome details were used much more effectively. When a Country Squire rolled down the road, it somehow managed to say family car and status symbol at the same time, and very few cars could pull that off. Number 13, 1960 Oldsmobile Dynamic 88 Fiesta. The year 1960 was a turning point for American cars. Tail fins were beginning to disappear, but not completely, and the Oldsmobile Dynamic 88 Fiesta captured that transition perfectly. The Fiesta name was Oldsmobile's designation for its station wagon models. This Dynamic 88 version came equipped with Oldsmobile's massive 394 cubic inch Rocket V8 engine, producing around 315 horsepower depending on configuration, making it one of the stronger engines available in Oldsmobile's lineup at the time. Design-wise, the 1960 Fiesta looked like it was standing between two eras. The tail fins were still there, but compared to the wild designs of 1959, they felt much more controlled and elegant. Meanwhile, the front embraced the cleaner style of the new decade with a wide grille and more horizontal design elements. This car perfectly represented what Oldsmobile was during that period. It wasn't fully stuck in the fantasy world of the 50s, and it wasn't completely committed to the cleaner style of the 60s either. It lived right in the middle, and sometimes those transition periods create the most interesting cars in history. Number 12, 1964 Chrysler Town and Country. Chrysler always played by its own rules in the station wagon world. Back when Cadillac wasn't really building wagons and Lincoln only experimented occasionally, Chrysler decided to take its full-size luxury platform and turn it into something unique: the Town and Country. The 1964 model was one of the cleanest and most refined versions they ever built. From the outside, you had elegant chrome trim, wood grain style side panels, and a huge rear glass area that made the car car feel massive and upscale at the same time. Step inside, and it felt like classic Chrysler luxury. Wide bench seats, premium materials, and a cabin designed more like a rolling living room than just transportation. Under the hood, buyers could choose engines like the 383 cubic inch V8, while larger options like the 413 V8 pushed performance even further. And that's what made this car special. It could quietly cruise like a luxury family wagon, but with the right engine, it had enough power to surprise people. The Town & Country wasn't just about style, it proved that comfort, space, and performance could actually live in the same vehicle, something that wasn't very common in the early 60s. Today, it remains one of those forgotten wagons collectors still love hunting down. Number 11, 1965, Plymouth Fury 3-station wagon. In 1965, Plymouth expanded the Fury lineup into a full range of models, and the Fury 3 sat right in the sweet spot. Not too basic, not over the top, just a perfect balance. The Fury 3 wagon showed off Chrysler's design philosophy really well. Wide C-pillars, a clean roofline, and long horizontal taillights gave it a sharp, balanced look. It wasn't trying too hard to stand out, but somehow it still did. Under the hood, the standard engine was a 318 cubic inch V8, producing around 230 horsepower, with larger V8 options available for anyone wanting extra muscle. What's interesting is that cars like this often blended into the background during their era. They weren't flashy sports cars or headline-grabbing muscle machines. They were just solid, good-looking family cars doing their job. But decades later, that understated style is exactly what makes them cool. Today, everyone remembers the famous Mopars, but wagons like the Fury 3 quietly carried the same DNA. Number 10, 1967 Chevrolet Chevelle Malibu station wagon. Building a station wagon in the middle of the muscle car era took confidence, and Chevrolet definitely had it. In 1967, they took the stylish Chevelle Malibu and gave it a wagon body. The design looked incredibly balanced. Long hood, low roofline, clean body lines. For a mid-size wagon, the proportions were almost perfect. It didn't have the giant size of full-size wagons, but it also avoided feeling small and cramped. Engine choices included V8 options like the 283 and 327 cubic inch engines, giving buyers a pretty healthy amount of power for the time. But here's the thing, this car wasn't really about being the fastest. It was about balance. You could haul the family around all week and still feel like you were driving something with real personality. Today, Chevelle SS models get most of the attention at auctions, but Chevelle wagons are starting to get noticed too, because while everybody remembers the loud heroes, sometimes the underrated ones age even better. Number 9, 1965 Buick Sport Wagon. This might actually be the most forward-thinking wagon on the entire list. The reason? Buick introduced something called the Vista roof, and back in 1965, this felt almost futuristic. The roof above the rear passengers was raised several inches and filled with large glass panels, giving people in the back almost a panoramic view of the sky. Today, panoramic roofs are everywhere, but in the mid-60s, this was seriously ahead of its time. From the outside, the Sport Wagon instantly looked different. That raised glass section completely changed the silhouette, and when combined with Buick's clean chrome details and smooth body lines, it created one of the most recognizable wagons of its era. The standard engine was a 300 cubic inch V8, while the optional 401 cubic inch Wildcat V8 added a lot more power. The Buick Sport Wagon felt like someone at Buick sat down and asked a simple question: what if a family car could actually feel exciting? And honestly, they came up with a pretty amazing answer. Number 8, 1967 AMC Rebel SST station wagon. Back in the 60s, the big three, GM, Ford, and Chrysler, pretty much controlled the conversation, but standing in their shadow was American Motors Corporation, fighting to carve out its own place. And in 1967, AMC decided to relaunch the Rebel lineup. The most interesting version? The Rebel SST wagon. The SST stood for Super Sports Touring, and AMC actually meant it. This wasn't some basic grocery getter. You got sporty styling, optional two-tone paint combinations, and handling that felt sharper than people expected from a mid-size wagon. Under the hood, engine choices started with a 232 cubic inch inline 6, but if you wanted more excitement, you could step up to the 343 V8 and wake the whole car up. And another thing that made it stand out was the ride quality. The independent front suspension gave it a smoother, more controlled feel than a lot of competing wagons of its time. Today, the Rebel double SST is seriously underrated. The AMC badge doesn't create the same excitement as Mopar or GM at auctions, but anyone who actually sees one in person usually gets it immediately. Sometimes the coolest cars are the ones nobody talks about. Number 7, 1968 Dodge Coronet 440 station wagon. 1968 was a huge year for Dodge. The B-body platform got redesigned, the lines became sharper, and suddenly the Coronet lineup looked tougher than ever, and one of the coolest versions quietly ended up being the Coronet 440 wagon. Now, one thing people often get confused about, the 440 wasn't the engine size, it was the trim level. Standard models usually came with a 318 cubic inch V8 producing around 230 horsepower, while bigger V8 options were available for anyone wanting extra power. Design-wise, this thing looks surprisingly aggressive for a family wagon. Sharp body lines, strong shoulders, and a front end that borrowed some attitude from Dodge's muscle car lineup. This didn't give off soccer practice energy, it gave off don't underestimate me energy. And here's the crazy part, these wagons still fly under the radar in the Mopar world. While everyone fights over Chargers and Roadrunners, these are still hiding in the shadows, maybe not for much longer. Number 6, 1965 Pontiac Catalina Safari. When people think about Pontiac in the 60s, most minds instantly jump to the GTO, but hidden behind all that muscle car fame was a wagon that never got the attention it deserved, the Catalina Safari. The Catalina Safari rode on Pontiac's full-size platform and carried all the styling that made Pontiac stand out during that era. Wide stance, broad grille design, and long flowing lines. But somehow the wagon body made everything feel even better. Under the hood, the standard engine was Pontiac's famous 389 cubic inch V8, while optional high-performance versions, including tri-power setups, could push power well over 300 horsepower. And for a family wagon in the mid-60s, that was serious performance. The reason this car ranks so high isn't just power, it's balance. Nothing looks forced, nothing feels over-designed. Every line works together naturally. Honestly, it doesn't even feel like Pontiac turned a car into a wagon. It feels like they designed it as a wagon from day one. Number 5, 1965 Dodge Monaco Station Wagon. 1965 was the year Dodge introduced Monaco as its own premium model, and they didn't hold back. This sat at the top of the lineup, full-size platform, luxury equipment, and some pretty serious engine options. The Monaco wagon almost felt like Dodge making a statement. Why can't a family wagon be huge, comfortable, and powerful at the same time? Standard models came with V8 power, while larger engines pushed performance even further. Paired with Chrysler's famous TorqueFlite automatic transmission, the power delivery felt smooth and effortless. Visually, this thing looked incredible. Long body lines, elegant rear glass, and from the side profile especially, it looked low, long, and almost intimidating. The Monaco never sold in the same numbers as wagons like the Country Squire, but honestly, that's part of why it feels special now, because when you suddenly see a 1965 Monaco wagon driving down the street today, you stop and stare for a second. Number 4, 1969 Buick Estate Wagon. 1969 was a huge year for GM. They completely redesigned their full-size lineup, and one of the biggest winners of that redesign was easily the Buick Estate Wagon. The new platform came in wider, lower, and with much stronger body lines, and the Estate Wagon basically took everything Buick was known for and rolled it into one package. Clean chrome details, premium wood grain style side panels, and massive rear glass that gave the whole car an upscale luxury look. Under the hood, buyers could get Buick's big block 430 cubic inch V8, delivering serious torque and effortless power. And that's what made Buick engines special back then. Like, they weren't just powerful, they felt smooth. Until you hit the throttle, then suddenly you remembered just how much engine was sitting under that hood. The reason this car ranks so high isn't just because it's big, it's because it wears its size perfectly. Some cars feel oversized, some feel awkward. The Estate Wagon somehow made size look elegant, and honestly, it felt like Buick closed out the 60s with one of the best wagon designs they ever created. Number 3, 1963 Studebaker Wagonaire quick history lesson here. Studebaker would shut down US production only a few years later, making this one of the final truly unique ideas the company ever gave the world. And what an idea it was, because in 1963 1963, Studebaker looked at station wagons and apparently said, "You know what this needs? A sliding roof." Seriously, the Wagonaire came with a sliding rear roof section that could open up, allowing owners to haul taller cargo without needing a truck. Or if you wanted, you could just enjoy open-air driving. So it wasn't exactly a convertible, but it wasn't exactly a normal wagon either. Engine options included the 259 and 289 cubic inch V8S, giving it respectable performance for its time. But honestly, the roof is what everyone remembers. Even today, the Wagonaire still feels weird, but in the best possible way, because sometimes being different is exactly what makes a car unforgettable. Number 2, 1965 Ford Falcon Futura station wagon. Everybody knows the Mustang, fewer people know the Falcon, and almost nobody realizes the Falcon wagon quietly became one of the cleanest compact wagon designs of the entire decade. The Futura trim combined the compact Falcon platform with extra chrome details, nicer interior materials, and a more premium overall look. And visually, this thing just worked. Low roofline, clean body lines, and none of the unnecessary styling tricks some cars relied on back then. Nothing felt excessive. Engine choices ranged from the small 170 cubic inch inline 6 all the way up to the 289 V8. And honestly, that's why this car lands near the top of the list. Because not every beautiful car needs giant tail fins or endless chrome. Sometimes simple design ages the best. The Falcon doesn't try to convince you it's cool, it just quietly is. Number 1, 1966 Mercury Colony Park. And here we are. Number 1, the 1966 Mercury Colony Park. Mercury sat in a perfect position during the 1960s. It had Ford engineering underneath, but with a more upscale personality that landed somewhere between mainstream and luxury. And the Colony Park was probably the most complete expression of that formula. Everything about the design worked together. The wood grain wasn't just decoration anymore. It became part of the car's identity. The color combinations, the huge side profile, the long hood, the elegant C-pillars, every piece felt intentional. This wasn't just transportation, this was presence. Under the hood, standard power came from a 390 cubic inch FE V8, giving the Colony Park more than enough strength to move this massive wagon around with ease. Today, clean Colony Parks bring serious attention from collectors because people immediately understand what they're looking at, because some cars age well and some cars become icons. The 1966 Colony Park became both.